Focus, 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 focus. Why is she not focusing? Focus. This shirt is stained from the nipples down, but you can't tell. What's going on, YouTube? It is your boy Thesis, aka Thesis himself, from Vaping with Thesis. That's right, God bless it. Now look, today we've got the UFO 2 by Khree. Now there are several things that I love and there's several things that I hate about companies in general. 9 times out of 10, especially in the vape industry, shit moves so quick that they don't even want to listen to the reviewers or to the outcry from the public and from the people who purchase their product. And they don't want to listen to them and correct things that were wrong. This is not that case. Khree, I'm so fucking happy with the fact that they took something that they knew was garbage and they took that criticism to heart. That is some shit that I love to see. Now this is what happens when a company listens and they improve something. Now real quick, huge shout out to the patrons. Thank each and every one of you guys for allowing me to do this for my job. You guys mean the world to me. I got a giant box of giveaway shit coming up for December. With that being said, if you want to take part in the Patreon giveaways, hit me up on patreon.com/ThesisHimself, as well as all social media at ThesisHimself. Now with that being said, my Ninja Kitties, let's go and get up close and personal with the Khree UFO 2. Okay, mother truckers, now peep game, son. Today I've got for you the Khree UFO 2. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the Patreon page. Thank you guys so much. We're up to 43 patrons. With that being said, the big exclusive Patreon giveaway will be happening. It'll be a Thursday at 10 p.m. Central Time sharp, mother truckers. With that being said, the goal for this month is to get to 50 Patreons. If we can get to 50 Patreons, I want to be giving away the Hog V4. This is the Hammer of God V4, $300 and some mod. I paid cash money for it. If we can get up to 50 patrons, that's specifically going to be the one that we give away. That being said, about the truckers, let's go and get started. Now, if you're not familiar with Khree, I've been reviewing Khree products since 2016. The Khree Z was by far and away one of my favorite quote-unquote pod systems or modular pod systems of all time at that point. Now fast forward a couple of years and they sent out the Khree UFO 1, the first version, and I thought it was absolute garbage. Straight up just trash. Now of course I was honest about that in the review, and of course Khree took notice. They were not impressed by my review, they were not happy with it, which is just fine by me. I could give a fuck. Now afterwards they started working with me via email on what the improvements could be, and of course the first thing I said was the quality and the way that it felt. Plastic is okay if it's done correctly. If it's not done right, it just feels like garbage, and that's exactly the case with the first version. The second version, I'm extremely happy to report back to y'all Ninja Kitties that I'm in love with this again. It's something where I actually took this and had it in my pocket on a regular basis. I dropped it more than its fair share of times. It's been phenomenal. No breakage, no separating of the seals, and it's been non-stop performance all day long. With that being said, let's go and unbox this bad boy. So first and foremost, this one will be given away on the Patreon page. I've got 3 of them to give away. Actually, I've got 2 of them to give away because this one I gave to my boy Josh Hoyt on the Patreon page. Slide around open, and this is exactly how you receive it. Kind of a dope-ass rainbow if you ask me. Usually I'm not a fan of that rainbow chameleon going on, but I'll tell you the truth, this one looks pretty as fuck. This is the front because that's actually where the light's located at. On the rear side, you see UFO by Khree, and then you've got the 2 little holes right there where the screws divot inside and keep the panels together. Pop this right here, and you've got yourself 2 2.2 milliliter capacity pods, one on either side, and I'm actually highly impressed. They are translucent. I do like that. That way you can see the level of the liquid on either pod. Now, just like anybody else, I use my mods at nighttime, so when it's dark out, I want to be able to use my device without having to actually look at it to tell which side is which. So if you do use 2 separate liquids on this bad boy, just know that there's no way to really tell which side is going to be which. Okay, so we go ahead and unbox the rest of it. And this is exactly what you receive. You do have a dope-ass lanyard, kind of the running trend at the moment. Cute, look at those little designs, that's adorable. And then we do have a flat USB cable. This one's gonna run about, 14 inches or so. Now the downside of this device when it's charging is it cannot be used as a pass-through. And if you're unfamiliar with what a pass-through is, it is simply being able to use a device while it's being charged. Now speaking of charging, this is a 600 milliamp hour battery. It's not insanely huge, but it has lasted me a solid 4 to 8 hours depending on how much I use it. Now 2.2 mils is a solid size for these cartridges. I kind of had a question, they haven't gotten back to me yet. I'm curious on whether or not the UK would accept this to be TPD compliant. It is 2 milliliters. But then again, there's 2 tanks. So that kind of gives a bit of a conundrum or oxymoron there. It is metal construction. This one right here is mine. I'm gonna go ahead and scratch it real quick so you guys can see the paint itself. It's fairly durable. Look at that. Just underneath, you got that stainless steel. Not bad paint at all. I'm actually really impressed. Now, speaking of the paint, something that's super cool is check this shit out. We can customize your design with our CNC engraving process. I'm curious on how much that's gonna cost, because if that's not super expensive, that'd be dope as fuck for me to get a few of these made specifically for the Patreon page and give those bad boys away, especially with the gold one. Woo! For the price that I think this is gonna be at, around $29.99, something along those lines, I think that's a solid price. It's actually super inexpensive for something that feels this high quality. It feels like straight up metal. I love that shit. It feels good in the hand. It's easy to go in the pocket. It's super flat. But the downside with the actual packaging or what's included is the fact that they don't include 2 extra pods. Now, a caveat to that is most pod systems only come with 1 pod. This comes with 2 as it is. So you could theoretically just have 1 filled, wait till that one goes bad, fill the other one, and then order some more. Something along those lines. I'm not sure how much they're gonna cost for the refillable cartridges themselves, but I know for the whole kit it's gonna be around 30 bucks, which I think is a super solid deal. Beautiful. Let's go and take a measurement quick on the micrometer. In millimeters, we've got, at its widest point, is gonna be 65 or 64.5 millimeters. Let's see what that is in inches. Bam, 2.5 inches, not bad whatsoever. I'm digging that shit. Let's see what the width is. 11, almost 12 millimeters at its widest point in the center. Now again, one of the improvements that I do like over the first UFOs is gonna be the magnets on the bottom part of the pods. You can see right inside of there. Stick that in and it just stays right where the fuck you want it to. No issues whatsoever. I've dropped it 100,000 times. I can't tell you once that these pods actually came out. Now with the battery, I'm still unsure whether or not this is lithium ion or LiPo or what. I'm assuming that the 600 milliamp hour battery in this bad boy is gonna be a lithium ion battery. They tend to have a decent lifespan, and that's something I look for in all my pod systems. Now, in terms of leaking, I've had 0. That is something that they tout on the website and the literature, that this is a 0 leaking system. I've been rocking 50/50 salt nick in these bad boys since day 1. I've had 0 leakage and thus far 0 dry hits. And that includes, they say that to wait 5 minutes per pod before you actually take a vape on your first fill. However, I just sat there, took puffs, like dry puffs without it in the actual mod itself. And I had no issues. It was like 30 seconds of dry puffs. It wicked immediately. I popped it in, took a puff, 0 dry hits since the first one. Okay, Mother Truckers. Now with that being said, let's go and get back to regular view, son. Welcome back to regular view, son. Now my final summation is this. The Khree UFO 2, in my humble opinion, is a beautiful rendition of what the first one should have been. The first UFO, the UFO 1, should have been this one to begin with, but the fact that it wasn't kind of gives a little bit dig against the company. However, again, that brings it back up to now they fucking saw their flaws and they fixed them all. So with that being said, it's a huge shout out to Khree. They did a fucking phenomenal job. An all metal chassis to me is very important, specifically because I tend to abuse my mods. Not necessarily on purpose, but because it wouldn't be a real review unless I beat the shit out of them. I mean, look at my Revenger X, for example. It's been a year. This thing has been flawless. Look at the fucking paint chipping. Look at all the scratches. Nothing. I just dropped this from 4 feet off the ground the other day working on the side-by-side. No problem whatsoever. In fact, you can kind of see the scuff on the glass. My Freemax fire loop did not break either, which is mind-blowing. There's a big scratch right there. Not a crack, but a scratch. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm getting at is this. I love when a company can take a product, they see their mistakes, and then they fix it. These 2 pods are absolutely beautiful. The longest I've gotten one of the pods to last was upwards of 9 days. Now, I want to add a caveat to that. That was a coil killer. That liquid that I had in there shouldn't be used in a pod system. However, I was using it. It was a cinnamon Danish roll or some shit like that. But regardless, it was extremely dark liquid, upwards of 9 days. That's a phenomenal time for something that's gonna kill your coil. Now with Nic salts, especially the menthols that are super clear like this is what I would expect people to use in this. This is a 50/50 blend Nic salt. So far, I have 0 flavor loss. It's been almost a week. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, a couple of things you want to take into mind with this bad boy is it's 600 milliamp hour. That's double the amount that's in a lot of pod systems. You got to remember you're going to get a lot more battery life with this device. And at 27 bucks, that's pretty fucking badass. Also, something I'm thinking about is the customization option that they do offer is fucking cool as shit. But I'm not sure how much that's going to cost. I'm assuming it's going to be double or triple the amount that you would pay for a regular one. But the fact that you can put your own design on them is badass. Personally, I want to put I Vape, I Vote on one. That'd be super cool, or a Thesis version. Give a couple away on the Patreon page. I think that'd be badass. Now, the MTL status on the UFO 2 is still not perfect. It's a little bit too loose to call it a real MTL. I'll give you an example. I figured the Nautilus on the smallest setting is probably a solid MTL, at least for me. Now, I'm looking at the Vape TO Cosmo kit. This here is a perfect MTL. That is an MTL. I'm pretty picky with my MTLs, though I'm not as picky as my homeboy William D. Rollinger. That Ninja Kitty, if it's not as tight as a fucking virgin, he doesn't consider it to be MTL. Another example would be the LAN, if you guys are familiar with the LAN. These guys are fucking, these are badass mods. I wish that they had a micro USB instead of the proprietary one. However, solid MTL. This one's gonna be a lot more airy. Take a listen. That's a direct to lung. Especially with the 50 milligram Nic salt, it's not necessarily something you want. A little bit tighter on the draw and you'd have a perfect system. The fact that you're gonna have two completely different opposing flavors is amazing. The downside with that, of course, is that there's no tactile way to tell the difference between the two pods. You have to actually look at it. 1 and then 2. You see the little Roman numerals up there, little tally marks up there. I wish there was a tactile way to tell which one is which, but of course you're not gonna have that with something that's round. If there was just a thumbprint or thumb mark or like a I don't know, a different shape on one side and a different shape on the other, I think that would be perfect. The magnets that hold these in are pretty solid. It's not perfect, but that's something you're gonna expect with anything that's held in via magnetics as opposed to friction. Why is the camera not focusing? Focus, you fucking camera. What is focus? Focus, focus, focus. Why is she not focusing? Focus. If you had it held in via friction, I think it'd be a little bit more solid, especially when you drop it. There's been a few times where I've dropped it and it's come out. It's only been a couple of times, but aside from that, it's been fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, mother truckers. Now with that being said, I want to tell y'all that I appreciate y'all for vaping with Thesis. It is your boy Thesis. I'm out.